Hi, and welcome to the second session of Introduction to Java, offered to you by the Clifton Park Half Moon Library. My name is Scott Bartow, and hopefully you have the people that have registered through the library website for this class. Please accept my invitation to my Google Classroom to be able to see the exercises that I've put out there, and to be able to communicate with me during this class. So where we left off last session was we were discussing the ability to cast a type. In Java, you have to, when you're creating variables, you have to typecast them, which means you have to give them a type, which the most common types are string or int for integer, or Boolean, or what else do we have? We have double, we have long. And so the ability to be able to cast and be able to take one type and then convert it. So where we left off last session was we were talking about there's two ways to change a type. One is done automatically, which is called widening casting, and that is simply converting a smaller type to a larger type size. So if you have a type of, say, int, and the number that's in that variable becomes larger than what an int type can handle, it will automatically convert it to a long or float or double, which are types that are larger than the int type. So that's called widening casting. Basically, it's handled by Java, so you don't have to worry about it as a Java programmer. But the other type is called narrowing casting, and this is done manually. You have to change the type yourself. So last session we talked about changing the type of a double to the type of int, which is making it smaller, right? You're going from a double type down to an int type. And why don't I just do that example real quick, just to refresh your memories. So, and the way I want you to do the exercises and to follow along with classes, I want you to go out to the website w3schools.com/java/tryjava.asp ? File name equals demo_hello world. And if you look down my screen, you can see what I've just highlighted, the address that I want you to go out to, and that is what you're seeing on my screen right now. So on the left-hand side is where you're going to type in your code, and when your code is ready to be executed, you click on this green run button, and that will compile your code and then run it. And the results after you run your program will be on the right-hand side where you see hello world. So if I run this program right here on the left and then click run, on the right, it will have my compiled and run results of my Java program, which it should just display hello world, because that's all my program is telling the computer to do, which is to print out the line hello space world. All right, so back to typecasting. So the way to manually recast a type is I will create a variable called int. Well, I'll give it a type of int, and I'm going to call it my int. And I'm going to assign it a value of 9. Int is an integer, and that is a whole number without a decimal place. And you end your Java statements with a semicolon. And now I'm going to create a double called my double. So I give it the type of double and I call it my double. Okay. And I'm going to give this a value of my int, which is 9 at this point, right? But since double has a decimal place, what it will cast it as is a it's taking an int value and casting it as a double. And so the value that will actually go into the variable called my double will not just be 9, it'll be 9.0. It will give it a decimal place. All right. So why don't I print out, I'll print out the value of my int, that variable, my int, and then below it, I'm going to print out the variable my double. So in parentheses, I have my double. All right, so I'm going to run my my program. It will print out the value of my int, which will be 9, and then it will print out the value of my double, which is casting an int value to a double value. So as you see, the result on the right side of my screen, it comes back 9 and 9.0. All right, so that's one example of narrow casting, right? It's converting it. Actually, that's an example of how Java automatically converts, right? Now, when you have to do it manually, you do it by placing the type in parentheses in front of the value. All right, so let me show you an example. All right, so I've got all right, so I'm going to take this, my double, and I'll get rid of it. All right, so say we start with a variable, we type it as double, and we call it my double, just like last time. But this time we're going to give it a value of 9.78. All right, with a semicolon at the end of your statements. And then, so I wanted to use narrow casting, which is manually casting my variable called my int. So I give it a type of int. I call the variable my int, and it's going to equal what's in double. So the way to cast it is to put in parentheses the type that you want, right? So we're defining my int as a type of int, so we have to cast this as an int, and then just put the variable name my double with a semicolon. All right, and why don't I add a comment here? So one way to add comments in Java is 2 forward slashes. And why don't I say manual casting, colon, double to int, right? Right, because this my double value is a double type of 9.78 as a decimal place. So I want to cast that to a value that works for int. All right, so once again, I'm going to print, first I'm going to print my double. So I'll cut this out. I'll move it up here. And I will put the printing of the value of my int below it. All right, so first I want to print out the value of my double, and then I want to print out how we've casted the value of my int. All right, so I'm going to run this. Running. So the first thing to print out should be the value of my double, which would be 9.78. And the second thing to be printed out will be the value of my int, which is converting a double value into an int value, which would just make it, the int value is just going to be a whole number, so it's only going to be a value of 9. So if you look at the results on the right, you can see it printed out 9.78 for my double and 9 for int. So, so that's it for casting. All right, let's move on to operators. All right, let's go in Java. You use operators to perform operations on variables and values. All right. So let's say, why don't we do? I'll get rid of my double. All right. So first of all, from last session, we talked about the basic framework of every Java program. So you have to start with a public. This very first line, you start with public space class, and then the class name, and then a space curly brackets, and then at the bottom, you're going to close everything in with the curly brackets, with the closing curly brackets. Inside the class, now the class name that you use has to be the same exact name for the file that you're going to save this program under. So the file name is the same as the class name, except the file name will have a .java extension to it. Now, inside the class, you're always going to start with a public static. You're always going to start with a main method, right? And you type this in by saying public space static space void space main parentheses string bracket bracket space args end parenthesis space and then a curly bracket. And then down here, I have a closing curly bracket. So all the things you want done in this main method get put inside, in between the public static void main and the closing curly brackets. All right. So back to Java operators. So the example I'm going to use, I'm going to say, all right, I'll get rid of this. So I'm going to use int, and I'll say x equals 200 plus. So I'm using the plus operator, 200 plus 40. And in my Java statement with a semicolon, and I'm going to print this out. So what should get printed out is the value of x, right? So I'm going to print out x instead of my int. All right, so I have int x. So I cast it as an int. I give it a data type of int. I name the variable x and make it equal to 200 plus 40. So the value of x will be printed out as 240. All right, so I'm going to run this and watch for the results on the right side of the screen. And what comes out is 240. Now, keep in mind, the plus sign is a mathematical operator in Java, but it's also used to concatenate things. Like if I go to print out x, so in my sys.out.print line statement, in parentheses, I want to print out the value of x. So I have x space, and then if I do plus, and I do double quotes, plus what? Plus space is the value of x, double quotes. So here I'm using the plus sign as the concatenator. So I'm adding the value of x plus the string space is the value of x. All right, so if I run this, you'll see how plus is used as a concatenator in this case, and not as a mathematical operator. So it says 240 is the value of x. All right, so just be aware with the plus operator how it's used. Now, if I had x equals x plus, and I take out the string, and I put a number like, I don't know, what's a good number? 100. Now, when I print this out, it will print out 340. So x has a value of 240 plus I'm adding 100, so it'll give me a value of 340. Because I'm adding, the value of x is a number, an int, and 100 is an int also. So 340. Let's see what would happen if I added something of a different type. So I have x is a variable that's of type int and has a value of 240. Now, what if I try to add to an int a value with a decimal place, like 100.99? Let's see what would happen. Will it be 340.99? Or will it just be 340? Or will it throw an error? Nope, it prints out 340.99. So that's how you can use the plus operator. All right. All right, so here's how Java and most programming languages divide up the operators into different groups. All right, so first you have arithmetic operators, which are what I just showed you, the plus sign. Well, I'll review what the groups are first, and then we'll go over each group. All right, so first is arithmetic. Second is assignment operators. Third is comparison operators. Fourth is logical operators. There's also bitwise operators, but I don't want to go into that in this class. So first, arithmetic operators. All right. So the ones we have are, I'm gonna just put them down here. So you have plus sign, which we just did. You have the minus sign. You have the multiplication, which is an asterisk. And then you have the division, which is a /. And then you have a percent sign, which is modalis. And what that is, it returns the divisor remainder. So if I did, I'll show you. So if I have int x equals, and I did, say I have 210, and I put a percent sign for modalis. There, and get rid of the plus sign. So 210 modalis 40, that means 40 into 210, which would go five times, and would have a remainder of 10. So if I print out x, I'll get rid of the plus 100.99. So all I want to do is print out the value of x. It should just print out a remainder of 10. So it should only print out the 10. Get rid of these. Right, so I'll run this. And there we go, remainder of 10. So, so those, and then if you want to increment by 1 or by something, you use plus plus. Just like if you want to subtract or decrease the value of the variable by 1, you would do negative. All right. Now, if you want to increase by more than 1, you should do plus 5, right? So if I have int equals x, right? And so I say, and I give it a value of 10. All right. And then down below, I say, okay, I want to increment it by 5. So you just do x plus plus 5. If I just put plus plus, well, I'll show you that. I'm gonna do semicolons to end my statement. I'll get rid of the plus plus and the minus minus. All right, so if I do this, it will increment x, the value of x, by 1. All right, so then I'm just going to print out the value of x. So what should be printed out is 10 plus 1 should print out 11. And that's what it does. Now, if I want to increment by more than 1, then I want to increment by 5. All right, so now I have x equals 10. I'm going to increment it by 5, so it's going to the value of x will equal 15. So I'll run that. You look to the right. Oh, it throws an error. Oh, it doesn't like the 5. All right. X. All right. What if I do x equals x plus 5? Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Nope, still doesn't like that. So it looks like you can only do increase the value of a variable by only 1, not by more than 1. Okay? And the same if you want to decrease the value. So if I want to decrease by 1, and these will be used a lot in the in looping. If we have the for loop or while loop. All right, so if I have x negative negative, or I'm sorry, negative negative x. All right, negative negative x. That should come up with 10 minus 1, which would be 9. Let's try it again. For some reason, it doesn't want to run. So minus x. Let's see if I take this out. And I will run it. I think it has to be reset because I threw an error earlier. There we go. All right, so now I have x, and say I want to decrease it by 1. It should be negative negative x, which would be 10 minus 1. Yeah, there we go. So 10 minus 1 is 9. So those are all our operators. So we have the plus sign, we have the minus sign for subtraction, the asterisk for multiplication, / for division. We have the percent sign for modalis to give you the remainder of 2 numbers that are being divided. And we have plus plus. So plus plus and the variable name will increment by 1. And minus minus and the variable name will decrease the value of the variable by 1. All right. All right. So those are our arithmetic operators. Now, how about assignment operators? Okay. So an assignment operator is this right here, the equal sign, right? All right. So we're using the assignment operator of equals to assign the value of 10 to the variable called x. All right. I'll get rid of this. All right. So now the addition assignment operator adds a value to a variable. Now this is what I was trying to do earlier with the plus plus. So if I have a value, a variable called x with a value of 10, I want to add 10 to it. all right, we use the plus equal assignment operator. So if I take S plus equals, say 5, and I'll end it with a semicolon, all right? So when I print this out now, it's going to add 10 plus 5, which is going to be, is on the right side of the screen, it will display the number 15. There we go. All right, so that's how you use the plus equals. You can do the same with minus equals, right? You can do asterisk equals and forward slash equals. All right. So let's say I want to do the multiplication one. All right. So I have x equals a value, has a value of 10. And then I'm going to use the assignment operator asterisk equals instead of plus equals. All right. So asterisk equals 5. So what this will do is we'll take the value that's in S right now, it'll multiply it times 5. 5 times 10, it should return 50. So I run my program. Let's see what happens. Making me run it twice. A lot. There we go. So it returns a value of 50. All right. And there are other assignment operators, but they're not used too often. All right, so just stick to the ones that, of course, equal sign, which, you know, I want, like in my first statement, I've got the type int, the variable named s, and I use the assignment operator of equal sign to assign the value of 10 to the variable x. All right, so those are assignment operators. Now, how about comparison operators? Now, comparison operators are going to be used all the time in conditionals, which are like if else, and else. So these are equal. Let's see. I'm going to display them down here. So you have equal. So in conditionals, you have to use 2 equal signs. And another one that you might not be familiar with is the exclamation point equal sign, which means not equal. And then we have the greater than sign. We have the less than sign. We have the greater than equal to sign, right? So if a number is greater than or equal to. And we also have the less than sign, equal sign. If a number is less than another number or equal to. All right, those are your comparison operators. And the last one we're going to cover are the logical operators. All right, so I'm going to get rid of our comparison operators that I've listed. And so logical operators are the ampersand, I just have to find it, ampersand. So there's 2. And that is, I'm going to use my comment, / that is called, that's logical and. Right, logical and. And the next one is pipe. 2 straight up and down pipes. And this is logical or. And the last one is just a single exclamation point. which like before we were talking about the exclamation point equal sign, which is not equals. Well, just a single exclamation point slash for a comment is logical not, which reverses the result and returns false if the result is true. All right. Whereas logical and returns true if the result is true. Remember, in Java, the Boolean values are either lowercase true or lowercase false. So with the or returns, so this is going to return true if both statements are true, right? If both statements are true, the result is true. This returns true with the or, the logical or, if one of the statements is true and not returns false if the result is true. All right. And you'll be using, in Java, you use the, the and or the or all the time. Logical not is not used nearly as much. All right, so let me just comment out this guy. Comment out the or, and I'm commenting out the not. I'm going to take the comments out inside the comment so it reads better. All right, and now let's do an example. Okay, so with or with and, all right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have int is going to equal to 5. And so I'm going to say sys out that print. I'm going to take the value of x, I'll get rid of this, x asterisk equal 5, right? We don't need that. All right, so now within the print, I'm going to say x greater than 3, oops, greater than 3, and so and is ampersand, ampersand, and s is less than 10. All right, so is that looking at the value of x as up above, we have x has a value of 5. So in our print statement, we can tell if what the print should print out. It should print out either true or false. And so s, which has a value of 5, is 5 greater than 3. Yes. So this is true, this first statement. And so remember, with an and, both statements have to be true for it to be true. And is x less than 10? So x has a value of 5, so is 5 less than 10? Yes. So both statements are true. So when we run this, it should print out true. And true is a Boolean value. That's one of our data types. And a Boolean value can only be true or false. So with conditionals, it's either true or false. So in this case, it's true. All right, so let's take a look at our friend the or. Okay, so logical or. Remember, or is using the symbol of 2 pipes and is using 2 asterisks. All right, so if x has a value of 5, all right, and so we're going to print out s is x greater than 3. And then we're going to use or which are the two pipes. And s is s less than instead of 10, which would be true again. What if it's less than 4? All right, is s greater than 3? Yes. S has a value of 5, so 5 is greater than 3. Or is s less than 4? Well, s has a value of 5. Is 5 less than 4? No. So the first statement is true, the second statement is false. But with an or, only one of the statements has to be true for it to be true. So when I run this, it's going to return true because the first statement, s is s greater than 3, is true. And see, the result returns true. Now, so what if I make both statements false? Then it's going to return false, the Boolean value false. So if I say s, if I take the first statement, which was true, when s was greater than 3, well, is s greater than 6? No, because s has a value of 5. 5 is not greater than 6. Therefore, when I run this, the first statement is false, and the second statement is false. Therefore, this statement is going to return false. I run it, and what do I get? But false. And the last one we want to take a look at is logical value not. All right, once again, we have int s, the variable s equals a value of 5. All right, so we're going to say s is greater than 3, which it is, right? 5 is greater than 3. And let me do an and. So ampersand, ampersand instead of pipe, pipe for and s is less than 10. So we're going back to both the first and second statements are true, right? But so if I run this, it's going to return true, right? Because the first statement, s greater than 3, yes, is true. And the second statement, s is less than 10, is true. So it's going to return true. I'll run it right now. And it returns true. Now, the way to use the not operator is, remember, these are comparison operators. So, or actually, these are logical operators used in conditionals. So the not operator, where I would put that is, I would do right after print line, I would do a parenthesis, and I would do the exclamation point for representing the not operator. And then I close out the conditional statement with a closing parenthesis. All right, so I'm saying if not, this is true and this is true, then return true. All right, but this is true and this is true. So I'm going to return false. All right, it returns false if the result is true. So the result here is this is true and this is true. You need both of the statements to be true in an and statement. And so not is going to return false. So I run it. Let's see what happens. And it returns false. All right. So that is how you use the not operator. So you're using and, you're using or, and you're using the not. All right. So that's it for operators. All right. So up next, let's Okay, we'll take a look at strings. All right, Java strings. Okay, strings are used to store for storing text. All right, it's a string of characters. That's why they call it a string. So let me get rid of this information. And now, in talking about strings, we have the type string, which is spelled with a capital S and the word string. So string, instead of X, we are going to do a string called greeting. All right, and they are going to, this reading is going to say, you have to surround the string with double quotes. Welcome to Intro to Java. And double quotes and end with a semicolon. All right, so we don't need this AND operator any longer. If I go to print out this, the value of this variable called greeting, all I have to do is greeting. Oops. All right. Now, when I run this, it should say, welcome to Intro to Java. All right. Of course, it means run it again. Chugging along. All right. So on the right side of my screen, get rid of this advertisement. On the right side of the screen, it says, welcome to Intro to Java. All right. So it printed out the value of the variable called named greeting and of type string. All right. Remember when you're doing the type of string, you have to capitalize the S in the word string. All right. So now, string length. All right. Java, a string in Java is actually an object. All right. All right. And it's of the class string, which means it contains methods that can perform certain operations on the string. For example, the length of a string can be found with the length method. All right. The length method is in the string class. All right. This is object-oriented programming. All right. Everything is an object and has is part of a class. So, so we can find out the length of this string, which is, let's say, I'll count out how many characters are in this string that has a value of welcome to Intro to Java. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 1, 2, 3, 4, 24. I count 24 characters in my string. All right, so by using the length, I can do it right in my print statement. And what we do is we put the name of the variable that we want to get the length on, and then we do dot. All right, we're using dot notation in Java. So we're taking the name of the variable, dot, and then the method name, which is length, in parentheses. All right. And so whenever you have a method, you have the method name, which in this case is length, and then it's followed by open parenthesis and a closed parenthesis. And what goes in the parentheses is any parameters that you want to include with this method. Now, the length method doesn't take any parameters. So you just have an open and closed parenthesis. You have empty parentheses. But when I run this, it should return the number 24 because I counted 24 characters went inside my string. All right, so I'm going to run this. And And it returns 24. So I counted correctly, which is very good. All right. So once again, since a string, once you cast your variable as a certain type, each type, whether it be int or Boolean or string, each type is a class, and a class is just simply a blueprint where you can have instances of objects. So this is object-oriented terminology, but the blueprint of the class, which in this case is string, is going to include all kinds of methods that you can use to allow you to perform different things on the string. All right. So here's so we covered the one method that's in the class string, and here's another one that's used all the time. All right. We have two uppercase, and we have two lowercase. All right. So let's say. All right. So I'm going to keep my greeting string, and which says welcome to Intro to Java. And what I'm going to do is, in my print, I'm going to say I use my variable name, my variable name greeting dot, and instead of length this time, I'm going to say two uppercase. That is the name of the method, and then in parentheses we have no parameters, so it's open parenthesis, close parenthesis. All right, so if I run this, all the characters in my string are going to go to uppercase, because I'm calling the method to uppercase. All right, so I want to convert it to uppercase. Welcome to Intro to Java. Everything's uppercase. Now, what if I wanted to make it? What if I want to make it lowercase? Why don't I just copy this print statement? All right, and now I'm going to make it go to lowercase. All right, so we simply change the method name. Instead of two uppercase, we're going to do two capital L lowercase. We'll get rid of the word upper. All right, and I'll print this out. So we should have the first line, welcome to Intro to Java, uppercase, and then the next line will be the same wording in lowercase. And there we go. Welcome to Intro, uppercase, and then the next line is lower. All right. So we've done the method length, and we've done the method to uppercase and to lowercase. Now, what if we want to use there's another method called index of, and what that's going to do is going to return the index, the position of the first occurrence of a specified text in a string, including white space. So what that means is, if I've got, I'm going to get rid of the second print line. So if I've got a variable that's of type string, and it says welcome to Intro to Java. All right, so I want to locate the word. All right, so I'll do a comment here. Two forward slashes will allow me to do a comment. So if I want to do the word, I want to find the word in my string. How about intro? More descriptive. So find the word intro. All right, there we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is inside my print, I'm going to call my variable greeting dot, and I'm not going to do two uppercase. I'm not calling that method, but what the method I am using is index of. And then now this time I have a parameter for this method index of. I have a parameter, single quote or double quote, doesn't matter as long as you're using the same, either single quote or double quote. You have to use the same at the beginning of the string or the end, and at the end. All right. So if I'm using double quotes, I would do double quote, and I'm looking for the word intro. Double quote. And let's see if it finds that. I'll do a run. And it's going to return the position that intro is in. All right, so it returns the index. So see how it doesn't return the word intro, it returns the number 11. All right, so if I go up to my string, welcome to Intro to Java. If you've done any programming, you're probably familiar with the fact that position 1 is not W in my string. All right, so the first character in my string is W. All right, but that is not position 1. In object-oriented programming, the index starts at position 0. So W is actually, in this case, position 0. And then E is position 1, L is position 2, C is 3, O is 4, M is 5, E is 6, space is 7, T is 8, O is 9, space is 10, and then I, in the word intro that we were doing a search on, is position 11, and that's why it returned position 11. So using the method index of can be very helpful in trying to locate certain words in your string to locate the position that they're in. So now going back to the plus operator, remember you can you use the plus operator can be used between strings to combine them. This is called concatenation. And so if I want to say, what if I wanted to say, what if I wanted to start, well, get rid of the method index up. All right, so in this case, we're not using an index. All right, so, and I'll get rid of this comment. All right, so I'm using the plus sign for concatenation. I want to concatenate 2 strings. So if I have the greeting, welcome to Intro to Java, what if I want to start this with another string? So I want to print, hi, Mark, comma, space, and then I do a double quote, space, and then here's where I add the plus sign for concatenation. So I've got the string hi Mark, comma, space, and I want to add that to welcome to Intro to Java. So I've got which is the value of the variable greeting. All right, so if I run this, that's what it should say. Hi Mark, comma, space, welcome to the Intro to Java. And that's using the plus sign for concatenation. All right. You can also use the concat method to concatenate 2 strings, but I don't know. I think it's easier to do it with the plus sign. So, all right. So, Mark, welcome. All right. So here we go. I'll just show you real quick the plus sign. All right. So if I have a string, I want to add first name and last name. First name equals, and double quotes, is it's a string. Oh, semicolon, and then I've got the string last name equals double quotes Lewis. Paul Lewis. Let's do a quote. So if I want to print these out, I can do, I can say first name, right, dot, concat, parenthesis, and then last name. That's it. All right, and this should print out Paul Lewis. I really think so. This is using the method concat with the parameter of last name. All right, but you see how it puts a doesn't put a space in between the first name and last name. So I mean, the better way to do this would be just using the plus sign. All right, so first name plus, and then you do double quotes space, double quotes space, plus sign space, and then the last name. Get rid of this extra parenthesis. All right, so we got the variable first name, which will be Paul, has a value of Paul, plus I'll add a space, right, which the space is a string, plus I'll add the value of the last name, which is Lewis, so it's Paul space Lewis. And I'll run this and let it run and compile. And that's what it does. Now, one last thing for tonight with strings is now there are a whole ton of other methods that you can use on the class string. So to manipulate your the value of whatever string you have. So one last thing I want to show you is that if you have I just want to show you that it will throw an error. So if I have text, I'm going to get rid of the last name. And if I have string first name, all right, let's do this. So if I have the string text, DSC, right? And it's going to be equal to double quotes. We are the leaders of the double quotes South, double quote East, double quotes semicolon. All right, so you can't have this because in a string, the first double quote is here before we, and then the second double quote is here, it ends the string before South. So the word South is not surrounded by double quotes, right? Because you have double quote here before we and double quote here before South. And then you have a double quote here before from and a double quote here before East. So if you want to do something like this, what you would do is, if you're gonna surround the whole string with double quotes, what you can do is you can just use a single quote here to surround the word South. And I will do shift and here and get rid of that. All right. If I run this, and I'm just going to print out TSC, it should print out, we are the leaders of the South from the East. That doesn't even make sense, but close this down. All right. And we are the leaders of the South. So if you want to put quotes around a part of the string, then you should use whatever, either single quotes or double quotes. All right. All right, that's it for the second session of Introduction to Java, offered to you by the Clifton Park Halfman Library. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation tonight, and please accept my invite to Google Classroom. And I look forward to seeing you next session. Thank you.